Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Intesar-e-Wilayat Ch-6. Address number 6. Wilaya of the Age. O Nasreen Wali-ul-Asr, it's time-tested reality that whenever a newly born faith is introduced to some nation or tribe and society, there are three essential aspects of its introduction. 1. Preaching, 2. Compliance, and 3. Completion. Preaching means imparting the fundamental faith, theories, injunctions, and duties to the people. Compliance refers to the practical application of faith, injunctions, and biddings. Friends, it is also a fact that when religion is called perfect, there are three aspects to its fulfillment. 1. Accomplishment of the preaching process. 2. Accomplishment of compliance. 3. Enforcement and utter completion. 1. Accomplishment of the preaching process relates to conveying faith, theories, injunctions, imperatives, and prohibitions of religion, either completely or up to one's ability, to those who fall under the laws of Sharia. 2. Accomplishment of compliance means to show practically the injunctions, faiths, and imperatives of religion. 3. Enforcement and utter completion mean the thorough application of religion to the tribe or race on whom it was revealed. The same stages in Islam are also laid before us. We see the declaration of Wilaya on the day of Ghadir. On that occasion, this verse was revealed. Today, we have perfected the religion, and we have bestowed on you our bounty, and we have accepted Islam as your religion. In fact, on the day of Ghadir, the declaration of Wilaya indicates the accomplishment of the preaching process only, but it does not in any way indicate the fulfillment of Islam in its entirety, because the proof of this argument is even verified in the first sentences of the above-mentioned verse, as it is said, "Impart the revelation which has been revealed to you." The word balagha obviously refers to the accomplishment of religion concerning only the preaching process, but religion was not accomplished in its entirety. It's a wrong perception that religion was accomplished on the day of Ghadir about the fulfillment of its preaching, compliance, and completion. In fact, on the day of Ghadir, only one aspect, that is preaching, was accomplished. Now the question arises when the religion was accomplished concerning its compliance. Realistically speaking, a religion was accomplished in Karbala, and there the practical models of religion were presented in their perfection. Commands and responsibilities were recognized and performed practically, and an everlasting message of true teachings was imparted to human beings. If they want to truly recognize the faith and commands of the religion of Islam in their age, they need to study the book of Karbala. Everybody must find out a character in Karbala that bears a close resemblance to him and then step into his shoes to be rewarded like that blessed character. Here, it is important to highlight a point that thorough completion and enforcement of religion would be possible only in the reign of the Emperor of the universe. Friends, the religion of Islam was not revealed only for a specific tribe or race, but it was revealed for the whole humanity. But it could not be genuinely implemented in the whole of the world. Today, those who deliver lectures on the topic called the Khilafat is a system that follows the path of prophethood do agree with this reality that the fulfillment of the enforcement of Islam can only be accomplished when the Emperor of the universe would bless the world with his reappearance in the form of the Caliph of Allah for the whole world, and his Khilafat would be on the path of prophethood. In other words, his Khilafat would be the substitute for the prophethood of the Holy Prophet. Only then religion would be complete in its entirety. That's why in all the exegesis written on the topic of the sacred Imams, it is said regarding today we have completed the religion that it is related to the era of the egress. Friends, realistically speaking, this verse connotatively assimilates all three aspects of religion. If some sacred being says that this verse refers to the declaration of the Wilayah at Ghadir, it is true because that day witnessed the accomplishment of the preaching of religion. But if some other sacred being says that this very verse is related to Karbala, it would be right because Karbala witnessed the accomplishment of compliance of religion. And if some being says that this verse is about the era of the egress of the emperor of the age, even then it must be true because on that very day religion would be complete concerning its enforcement and thorough completion. And during his reign there would be neither any other religion except Islam nor the religion other than Islam would be acceptable. Friends, I was telling you that the accomplishment of the compliance of religion was achieved in outward or external Karbala. There in Karbala, we find a comprehensive collection of characters from which we can find an ideal for us, and we can achieve great reward while chasing this chosen ideal. Friends, it must be kept in mind that in Karbala, we also find characters, both successful and failures, with positive and negative tendencies. It's for us to observe whose character we are following, because in every age, Karim-e Karbala remains and will remain present in this world in specified visage, that is, at one time in the embodiment of the fourth emperor, Imam Zainul Abidin, and at other time in the embodiment of the emperor of the universe. Intrinsic and spiritual Karbala will always continue to apply its implications. Our attitudes are being measured constantly, that is, our attitude will define what kind of attitude we have adopted towards our Wali-ul-Asr. It's equally important to identify our approach with some specified character in Karbala, and we will certainly be either rewarded or punished concerning our close resemblance with any virtual or devilish character in Karbala. Karbala is such an institution that offers the opportunity to everybody to achieve a higher pedestal with his personal efforts in both worlds. The door of Karbala is wide open for everyone, either to step into the shoes of Tarimma bin Adi or Tarimma bin Hakam. He can also set the role model as set by Tarimma bin Daud. Certainly, it depends on the constant struggle and endeavor we involve, the responsibility we truly and timely recognize, and finally performing our role devotedly and diligently. 3 such persons can be found in the book of Karbala with the same name called Tarimma. In other words, there existed in Karbala 3 different characters with the same name, and these 3 characters interpreted and represented 3 big classes of people in Karbala. And we can derive a great lesson from the characters they performed in Karbala. Tarimma bin Adi. Friends, as I have mentioned above, that in the outward and external Karbala, there are 3 different characters with the same name called Tarimma, and they represent 2 different aspects of humanity. Among the 3, there comes the first one named Tarimma, who belonged to the Tai tribe and is the son of Adi bin Hakam Tai. Hazrat Tarimma was one of the messenger of Amir-e-Kainat. He was really a quick-witted and fiery orator. I have already mentioned how the sharp tone of his fiery, blessed tongue hit the enemies like a sharp blade. During his travel to Syria and in the court of Syria, especially the display of his fluent, fiery, and quick-witted tongue rendered the enemies dumb even in their court. Here, it would be probable to present a poem in his honor. There is no young man who can be compared with Tarimma in his chivalry in the domain of Wilaya. His qualities are indescribable. Just imagine him like a Karwa or embodiment of good attributes. He is tall-statured, young, and rough stone of roe, and brave warriors seem to be pygmies when compared to him. He is a fiery orator, such a speaker who flashes like electric power, and then the tip of his tongue cuts off like the edge of a sword. He is an ocean of quick-wittedness, off-handed phrases, daring and undaunted speech. He has got a tongue sharper than a sword to completely frustrate the enemies. He counterblasts and retaliates forcefully and responds to the critics on the spot. He gives required answer and is equipped in response to the taunting questions, and he is branded as a volcano without breaking truthfulness. He does not speak under pressure even in the face of a tyrant like Pharaoh, and is known for his outspokenness. Whoever speaks in front of him is silenced, and who speaks too much is subdued by him. By God, his speech is as fast as lightning. This poet possesses a chuckling and melodious voice and sings camel riders' traditional song and was a singer. Whose songs are heard by the emperor of Karbala, who says that he is one of our interpreters. He is the eternal master of good fortune, an embodiment of fidelity, and the king of bliss and felicity. Who pulled the reins of the camel like Emperor Sajjad? He is thus the confidant of the sacred family of Muhammad. Jafar, he looks like a swordman who is thirsty for martyrdom and thirsty for swords. He has written his destiny from eternity in such a way that now he has become the ocean of good deeds. As Imam-e-Mazloom started his journey from Waqsa and before reaching a place called Shiraf, 3 young men joined his lashkar. Among them were Hazrat Tarimma bin Adi, Hazrat Umro ibn Jundub Hazrami, and Kanana bin Atiq Taghlabi. It is narrated that they came from Kufa. It is also narrated that these 3 young men came from Basra and approached Karim-e-Karbala before coming across the lashkar of Hazrat Hur, who forcibly stopped Karim-e-Karbala from going Kufa. He continued his journey in an unheard way. On that occasion, Hazrat Rimma bin Adi was honored with the duty of being a guide and camelman of the lashkar of Karim-e-Karbala. When confronted with the lashkar of Hazrat Hur, Hazrat Rimma bin Adi also sang camel riders' traditional songs. On hearing this, sacred donkeys present in the lashkar of Hazrat Hur refused to further accompany the lashkar. The horse of Karim-e-Karbala was moving on by his side, and he was singing the lyric poetry while receiving tribute from the emperor of the universe. When he was ordered to drive the camels, he kept his camel ahead of all other camels in the lashkar. While flogging his camel, he started singing lyric poetry. Song of the Desert. Oh, my beloved camel, you should be insensitive to my reprimand today, as we have to reach our destination before the approach of Fajr prayers. Oh, my camel, if you know who is our traveling companion, it is they who are superior to all other travelers. They are the noblest and the most distinguished among all the chivalrous people of the whole of the universe. They belong to the sacred family of the Emperor of the Prophets. It seems as if they are the family of Allah's total pride. Oh, my camel, this very companion of ours is the honor of those radiant lips and cheeks, who is the leader of all enlightened faces, and he also knows the proper use of weed spears. These are those young men who continue to wield swords to destroy generations until the sun rises in their family. These are those companions who are the embodiment of greatness, pride, and grace. Allah Almighty may transport them to their destination safely and always keep them in comfort. My prayer is that the honor of the benefit and loss in this universe will keep them safe till the end of time. O the being who is the sole honor of the whole universe, advocate and support our Wali-ul-Asr, that is Karim-e Karbala, with your nusra against the rebellious and vicious infidels. Abu Sufyan's wretchedness was transferred to both Yazid, the accursed one, and Ibn Ziyad, another accursed one. Yazid is that ill-fated person who has taken an oath to defend drinking, and the second damned person is Ibn Ziyad, who is a bastard one. Not only that, he is also the son of a bastard one. He is the bastard son of a bastard one. He fully showed his skills in fighting a sword on the battlefield of Karbala. He was badly injured to such a greater extent that he could not recover his consciousness till the 11th of Muharram. When the sacred heads of the martyrs of Karbala were about to be cut off from their bodies, they found that Tarimma bin Adi was still alive. Thai tribe did not let the accursed executioners cut off the head of Tarimma bin Adi, who was still alive. He has also narrated the same incident. Later on, he died of the wounds he got on the battlefield of Karbala. This was one of the prominent characters of Karbala, possessing many qualities. First, he was a poet. Secondly, he was known for his fiery speech. Thirdly, he was also a guide. Fourthly, he was also a sweet-voiced singer who used to sing traditional songs on the back of the camel. Fifthly, he was also well-versed in the art of music. Sixthly, he discussed a variety of subjects in his poetry. Seventhly, he propounded the virtues of the sacred family. Eighthly, he introduced the sacred and chaste members of the family of Karim-e Karbala. Ninthly, he asserted his ultimate faith. Tenthly, he publicly acknowledged and praised the chivalry of the sacred members of the Holy Family. Friends, it is worth examining how he has done nusra and what message he has delivered us. Out of all these, some of the important points are to be discussed here. 1. He prayed for the safety of the Imam of the age. He also prayed, "May the boat of our master harbor safely." In his poetry, he rebuked and sharply criticized the enemies. 3. He completely introduced the enemy and explained it very well that the one who confronts the Imam of the era is branded as a bastard. In fact, he utilized his poetic genius for nusra. 4. He also utilized his melodious voice in art and music for nusra of Imam till the enemies in the guise of the companions left the sacred karma, giving religious decree against Tarimma, singing in praise of the sacred family. 5. He proved his nusra on the battlefield, got deadly injured and went unconscious. And finally, his injuries took him to another world, a dwelling place for purified and sacred souls. In other words, he taught to fully utilize all the resources, skills, and capabilities a man can possess for the sake of his Wali-ul-Asr, and he practiced it first. This was such a character who served as a role model for all those who believe. This was one such character of Karbala. Incident of Tarimma bin Hakam. Friends, in outward and external Karbala, there is another character with the same name called Tarimma. He too is a lesson for us. Let's see what message he delivered for us. The karma of Imam-e-Mazloom fully and unconditionally surrendered to the will of Allah Almighty left Rohimia for Beza Bani Yarbu. As I have mentioned earlier, that Rohimia is situated in the southwest of Kufa. while the karma of Imam Mazloom fully and unconditionally surrendered to the will of Allah Almighty is traveling to the northwest, which was uneven and rough terrain. This sacred karma is moving to an unknown destination in an unfamiliar way. Hazrat Tarimma bin Adi was leading the karma while riding his camel and singing traditional songs on the back of the camel. Suddenly, he stopped his camel and submitted to the Imam Mazloom that some people were coming the same way at a far distance and asked him for further orders. Imam Mazloom ordered Tarimma to stop them off the road. A horse rider rode to those people and asked them to stop and wait off the road. As the passenger-bearing camels, taking fully wheeled females, clad in the veil of monotheism and prophethood, crossed that point, Imam Mazloom glanced at the right of the way and noticed a rider accompanying some luggage-bearing camels which were being led by a black slave. Imam Mazloom directed his horse in the same direction and asked the slave who that gentleman was. He answered that gentleman was Tarimma bin Hakam Yarbuhi. As the sacred horse of Imam Mazloom approached Tarimma bin Hakam Yarbuhi, he dismounted from his horse and inquired about the destination of Imam Mazloom. He said to Tarimma, "We intend to approach Kufa, but all the ways have been blocked. Neither these wolfish people let us approach Kufa nor go back. Now we are traveling to such a destination which is fixed from the day of the covenant or solemn pledge. But currently we are moving to Beza Bani Yarbuh." Tarimma bin Hakam submitted, "O my master, my tribe also inhabits there." Imam Mazloom bespoke, "I have to finish the argument on this nation too. If they support us, they will achieve great rewards, and if they did not, Allah is sufficient for us." Tarimma bin Hakam submitted, "O my lord, you should not go to Kufa, even if you get an opportunity, because the inhabitants of Kufa will not stand by you. And I strongly feel that Kufa has permanently become a place for the extermination of Sayyids. There are very few followers of you in Beza Bani Yarbuh. You are requested to please accompany us. I would lead you to Jabal-e-Roya, where our tribe is inhabited, which will fully offer its nusra." I want to say here that Tarimma bin Adi also requested Karim Karbala to accompany him towards the mountains of Salma and Waja, where thousands of Ansars who belong to the Thai tribe would be ready to offer their nusra to him, but here he referred to Jabal-e-Roya. During the reign of the first caliph, when Malik bin Nawira was martyred and the people of Bani Yarbuh were massacred, the survivors of Bani Yarbuh left their place and inhabited Jabal-e-Roya permanently. It was a vale surrounded by mountains and was a safe place for the security point of view. And nobody lived in Beza Bani Yarbuh except some families. The confrontational gang was not called Bani Yarbuh but Bani Hanfiya. Allah may curse it with eternal damnation. The other habitation in Bani Yarbuh belonged to other tribes, out of which the number of Bani Asad was dominating. It means that Shiites left this place and were inhabited in Jabal-e-Roya. Jabal-e-Roya is located at a distance of round about 200 kilometers from Kufa towards Nakhif, which is situated in the Iraqi desert called Desert of Syria. At that time, the people of Bani Yarbuh were inhabited there and used to earn their livelihood by keeping camels, sheep, and goats. This deserted land was not fertile enough to yield agricultural produce and grains, or yielded insufficient crops and grains. That's why the people used to go to Kufa to purchase wheat, barley, rice, etc. They used to sell their animals here and purchase eatables. Let's come to the point. Tarimma submitted a request to Karim Karbala to accompany him to Jabal-e-Roya. which was quite safe and not far away from there. Imam-e-Mazloom declined his request, saying that he has already set a particular location in front of him where he was to go. Further, Imam-e-Mazloom asked Tarimma if he was intended to accompany him for Nusra. Tarimma submitted to Karim-e-Karbala that he was going back to his tribe while taking eatables for his family. He further said that it would be proper for him to first transport the commodities to his tribe and then to take as much Ansars offering unconditional Nusra as possible for him. He expressed his hope that he would convince his tribe of the Nusra of Karim-e-Karbala. Karim-e-Karbala replied that only those would be able to do Nusra who were destined to perform that sacred act. Then Karim-e-Karbala bade him say his compliment for his Shiites. After saying this, Karim-e-Karbala turned his horse backward and Tarimma bin Hakam left for his tribe. Tarimma bin Hakam Yarbuhi reached Jabal Roya, collected all the people of his tribe and informed them about the whole state of affairs in Kufa. He told him that the people of Kufa themselves wrote letters to Karim-e-Karbala ensuring him their Nusra, but after that they turned their back and disowned Karim-e-Karbala. Tarimma felt sorry for Karim-e-Karbala, who had reached near Kufa, but all the ways leading to Kufa had been blocked. He further said that he was the eyewitness of the passenger-bearing camels taking the sacred daughters of the Holy Prophet while traveling in the desert of Kufa. He tried his level best to convince the people for Nusra, but they turned a deaf ear to his words and preferred not to give Tarimma any positive response. He preached day and night, emphasizing that their Wali-ul-Asr needed their Nusra direly, and if they refused it, they would earn eternal damnation, because abandoning Nusra would result in eternal damnation to hell. He had been continuously convincing the people for Nusra. After much struggle, a few young men got ready to accompany him to Nusra. They decided to leave early in the morning so that they might produce themselves before their reverend emperor. The next day, they started their journey. It was the 10th of Muharram al-Haram, the day of Ashura, and they continued moving on. On that day, the sky turned yellow, which was the symbol of some desert storm. It was noon when the sky started showering the soil. This was the time when Karim-e-Karbala embraced the martyr body of the image of the Holy Prophet, the Prince Hazrat Ali Akbar. Karim-e-Karbala called Hazrat Ali Akbar the illumination of his eyes and pathetically said that after his beloved son, there was nothing left on the earth except the soil. As he uttered this sentence, the sky showered the soil on the whole earth. Coming back to the point, Tarimma bin Hakam decided to gallop their horses lest they should entangle in the storm. They galloped their horses, and in the meantime, the time approached when the tyrants advanced toward the sacred tents, and darkness prevailed in the whole of the world. A dark windstorm blew, and the sky started showering blood. They spent the night in the desert and again started traveling early in the morning, but he could not sleep the whole night. The next day, Tarimma bin Hakam reached near Qasr Bani Muqatil at noon and saw a troop coming toward him. Tarimma bin Hakam moved forward and saluted the people of the troop. Among them were also present the accursed Abdullah bin Qutbah Nibhani, the murderer of Hazrat On, the elder son of Sharikat al-Hussein, that is the sacred sister of Karim-e-Karbala, and his companion Samat bin Ziyad Nibhani. Tarimma bin Hakam asked Samat bin Ziyad if he knew something about Karim-e-Karbala or where he had stayed. He replied that Karim-e-Karbala had been martyred. When Tarimma bin Hakam heard the news, he slapped his face and called this news a pile of rubbish and an awkward joke. Samat bin Ziyad Nibhani protested against Tarimma's manhandling, saying that he could confirm from Lashkar that all of them collectively martyred Karim Karbala, including the whole of the sacred family. He further said that Karim Karbala continued saying, "Is there anyone who offer us unconditional nusra?" But nobody came to rescue him. He continued by saying that the sacred daughters and the daughters-in-law of the Queen of the universe would be taken with grace and grandeur to Kufa, and Tarimma might also witness the whole karma if he stayed there a little. As Tarimma heard it, he went unconscious and fell from his horse, saying sorrowfully, "Wah Husaina." In this state of unconsciousness, Tarimma's companions took him back to Jabal Roya. Important points of the above-mentioned incident. 1. Whenever Imam of the universe calls for nusra, we must proffer ourselves for nusra on that occasion. Whosoever thinks that he can roll up his worldly responsibilities by proffering himself for nusra is finally deprived of the infinite blessings of nusra. It is, however, strongly advised not to waste even a moment when called for nusra. 2. When called for nusra, we must not pay any attention to the material requirements and needs of the family, because Wali-ul-Asr is much more important than our parents, wife, children, and the whole of the family. Thus, it is imperative for us to push aside all the blood relations and prefer nusra. 3. If Wali-ul-Asr himself ordains some believers to invite others for nusra, it must be obeyed. Otherwise, we must not waste our time convincing or inviting others to nusra. It's because if a person convinces others instead of himself for nusra, time slips away and he remains deprived of nusra. That's why it is ordained that if a believer hears the call of the Emperor of the universe, he must at once leave for nusra without waiting for his family members or friends. 4. The very incident of Tarimma also delivers us a message that even the slightest laziness in proffering nusra results in deprivation, which leads to lifelong repentance. There exist many hidden indications which can be found by those who feel the thirst for them. In the present age, we must pray for the immediate avenge of the sacred family. Let's pray collectively for the establishment of the eternal rule of our Wali-ul-Asr. Ameen. Ya Rabbul Alameen. Alhamdulillahi wa shukra sahib az-zaman. Ajjalallahu farajahu sharif.